The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com. All right, welcome back to the Sports Renegades here on SportsTownChicago.com. I'm Ryan Stuprich.
And I'm Ryan Risky.
We were talking just before we came back about Nikola Mirotic, how he went in, I think, last week for an emergency appendectomy to get his appendix out, which is normal. And, you know, he was supposed to be just sidelined for a couple weeks and be back after the All-Star break. Unfortunately, while he was laying in the hospital, he got something called hematoma. I can't even say it, really. But it's basically a blood clot somewhere in his leg, so they had to fix that issue, and he's going to be sidelined even longer. Currently, there's no timetable. He's out indefinitely. So there goes your quote-unquote sixth man type guy. After Joakim Noah now is out for the year, and now Nikola Mirotic could be out for a very long time. I'd say he probably won't be out for the rest of the season, but they haven't listed a timetable yet, so that's sort of the gut reaction.
Yeah, I think he's done for the year. Those blood clots take a long time to recover from.
Yeah, it's not good.
I mean, at least it's not like blood clots in his lung like Chris Bosh had last year.
Here, let me read an article. This is from the Chicago Sun-Times. This was posted 6 hours ago. It says Nikola Mirotic has been discharged from the hospital, so that's a good sign. So after a medical setback, Nikola Mirotic is reportedly starting to get back on track for the Bulls. The Bulls' stretch forward is getting a clearer look as to when he will be back on the court. He, of course, went to the hospital initially to get his appendix removed. Then, a few days ago, Mirotic had his hospital stay extended for hematoma removal. And so that would be a blood clot in his leg. Mirotic is reportedly out of the hospital at this time, so that's a good sign. And according to a report from Yahoo, Mirotic expects to return in a little over a week and a half, but that's not official. It could be longer. He was supposed to be back on Valentine's Day for the All-Star game, because I think he was supposed to be in not the skills challenge. He was supposed to be in something like on that Friday or maybe that Saturday. He was supposed to be like in something like the Rising Stars Challenge or something.
Oh, not the who can make the most threes from half court?
No, I don't think he was in that one. I think they pick teams. Like they pick like teams, and you have a current player, a former player, and a women's player, or something like that. Before his surgery, Mirotic had seen his play improve after a slow start. He was invited to participate in the NBA Rising Stars game, so that's what it was. I think that's like the first-year players against the second-year players, and they battle like on a Friday night before All-Star Saturday night and stuff. So that's Nikola Mirotic, so hopefully he'll be back soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't hold your breath on that one.
No, I have a bad feeling something bad's going to happen, and it's going to be a lot longer than we think. Hopefully not. Either way, the Bulls had a kind of impressive win because they were without Jimmy Butler. They kind of had an impressive win last night against Sacramento. I was expecting them to lose just because that's the type of game that they would lose, and they seem to lose to Sacramento more than they should. But they played pretty well. Etuan Moore and Derrick Rose actually had a nice game, but Etuan Moore really was the star.
24 points and 4 of 5 from the three-point line.
Awesome.
He's had more good moments than bad moments. Except usually his good moments are against not-so-good teams, and the bad ones are against the good teams.
Right. Did you see on Monday how they blew that game to the Jazz? It was unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I had some idiot friend that was trying to tell me that the Jazz were a really good team, and that's the type of team
the Jazz are no good.
He said that's the type of team the Bulls can beat, not should. And I'm just like, they're like 21 and 26.
Yeah,
they're an awful team. The Bulls should be able to beat them.
The Bulls are like 6 games over 500, and the Jazz were like 6 games under. That's a 12-game swing.
Yeah, and me and my other friends were actually trying to tell him that he was an idiot, that the Jazz really aren't that great of a team. He's like, well, they're in the Western Conference. I'm like, Yeah, they're in 9th in the West, and if they were in the East, they'd be in, 12th.
Yeah, they'd be further down in the East.
The West just has the better top teams. They don't have as much depth as the East does.
There's a lot of interesting in-between teams in the Eastern Conference right now. Teams like Miami and Boston and Charlotte, teams that kind of have some good players and could give some teams some trouble in the playoffs, including the Bulls. I think the Bulls, last I looked, they were a 5th seed. They might have moved up to a 4th after their win last night. Either way, they're going to have a tough matchup no matter who they play. Even if they end up with the 2nd seed, that 7th seed right now could be anybody. It could be the Celtics, who they can't seem to beat. It could be Miami, who I don't think they would beat necessarily, because Miami's actually got a pretty darn good team that they have post LeBron and everything. And then eventually they're just going to have to play the Cavaliers again, whether that's the first round, whether that's the second round, or God forbid whether it's the Eastern Conference Finals. They're going to have to play the Cavaliers, and that's going to be the real question. Will they ever be able to beat them? Probably not.
Honestly, people are saying last year was the year to beat them because Love and Irving were both out.
Yeah.
And I really think it's this year. They fired their coach mid-season.
Right, and this
might actually be the year. If they were going to do it, I don't think they will.
No, the problem is Rose isn't playing well enough still. And you can't just have Jimmy Butler. Pau Gasol's been good, but he's also he's also old, and he gets tired really easily, and you have to sort of manage his minutes. And come time for the playoffs, Etuan Moore and Doug McDermott probably won't be that big of a factor, just because it'll be their first playoff appearances. It'll just be interesting to see how it works. We know Taj will be good. He's been good all year, and he's probably one of their better players. Jimmy Butler should be good. He sat out yesterday because of tendonitis in his knee or his leg or something. It wasn't anything serious, but I was surprised that they beat Sacramento.
I think a lot of people.
Especially coming they almost blew it again. It was
especially
games.
Coming off that loss to the Jazz.
Although you still shouldn't give up 102 points to Sacramento when the only good player they have is sometimes Rudy Gay and then DeMarcus Cousins. So I don't know. It's been a very interesting season. Steph Curry had 51 points yesterday, so he just continues to go.
Do they still only have 4 losses?
Yes.
They have 5.
No, as far as I know, they still have 4. They have 4, and they're all on the road. All 4 of their losses were on the road. They played in Washington, D.C. last night. The Wizards scored a lot of points. I think the Warriors won 132 to 121, something like that. So, it wasn't a bad offensive game for the Wizards. They just couldn't stop the 51 points from Steph Curry. That was the difference.
Yeah, well, I mean, sometimes he's usually playing on another planet. He's that good.
No, normally, yeah, it's very. I mean, it's amazing to watch, but it's just I don't know. I don't know when he'll ever have a bad game, because he never really has a bad game.
No, he usually makes a couple threes, scores 20 points at least. I mean, he's averaging 30 on the season.
Right, and it's just it's going to be very interesting season for the Bulls, but hopefully Mirotic will be back soon. Jimmy Butler should be back the next game, I would hope. And, hopefully they can start to figure it out. I mean, there's still plenty of time to figure it out. You just want to make sure you're playing your best basketball at the end of the season, going into the playoffs. And that's been something that the Bulls haven't been able to do under Tom Thibodeau, so maybe they can do it under Fred Hoiberg. I don't know.
We'll find out.
We don't have high hopes for Fred Hoiberg. So.
Anyways, when we come back, we're going to have Chris Simpson of the Daily Blitz on to preview the Super Bowl coming up in the second hour of the Sports Renegades on SportsTownChicago.com.
The Sports Renegades podcast on SportsTownChicago.com.